Everybody, hello. Can you hear me okay? Doing good? Everybody here waiting on me? And I'm 2 minutes early. Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. There we go. Thanks, Kat. So, this week's case, Don Miller. As you can saw, it was very a draining week for me, but we got through it. And I'm here to answer any questions that you got, and we'll go from there. So, anybody want to fire something off at me? I answered a lot of them today in the comment section. I answered a lot of those, but I'll do them again. Yeah, it was a very trying case, but I was it was like I was waiting my whole life for it, to have an official cold case, and so I was able to put everything that I had into it. Obviously, it wasn't quite enough, but I still got some breaths in me, so the fight's not over. Moon, do you still keep in contact with her family? Yes. Her mom, she actually just commented a couple things on my Facebook because she watched the video, and yeah, so I still I stay in contact with all the family members of all the cases I've worked. I still do. That's the way I am. Kat, so do you believe she was in that spot at one time and moved? Yes. I think she was probably moved like a day or two after they killed her because they haphazardly buried her. So I feel that, they knew she was going to be spotted there. And he went back, Greg did, and moved her. That's my belief. I'm seeing some new faces in here. That's good. Felicia, did you ever feel like giving up? No. Not because of her, but because of the DA and others. And did it make you feel like you never wanted to do another cool case? No. Nope, never felt that way. It was just, I've gone through life understanding that people are not going to have the same passion for me or see things the same way I do. Attorneys are no different. So, never thought about quitting, giving up. Just never thought of it. BME Dina. I'm just wondering, isn't it possible that Dawn is where Greg killed himself? No. No, I've seen that a lot. And of course, I thought that as well, But I sent a cadaver dog there. I watched the cadaver dog go all around that property. And he did alert, but he alerted where Greg hung himself. But to be safe and sure, I certainly took the ground penetrating radar around that area to make sure. But the dog was alerting off of Greg, not Dawn. And the place where he hung himself is 35, 40 miles maybe from where she would have been originally buried. I have a hard time believing that he would take her there and risk getting caught when he's surrounded by woods within seconds of that spot. So I don't think it would make any sense for him to take her all the way to where he was found. Denise, hi. Manager, hi. Vision Cliff, what's up? Hope you got my book that I sent you. Capradillo, hi. Faith, hi. Made it to alive, I see. Jimmy from Philly. Was there always a difficult relationship with the DA's office? Would there have been another outcome had the first DA prosecuted? I didn't have a problem with the first DA, Mike Madera. He was very cordial. He only had the case a couple months before he left office. and then Staci Parks Miller took over, and she is who I kind of had difficulties with. But I wasn't the only one. It seemed like she had difficulties with a lot of people, and she had some ethical issues um, with doing things. We didn't see eye to eye on the case, and why that is, I don't know. Maybe it's because prosecutors can pick and choose what cases. If they think they're going to lose, they're not going to take it. So maybe she thought that she couldn't win it. Hey, Gina, can you explain the hierarchical difference? I know what you mean between police departments, sheriffs, and state troopers. I realize I understand this in this case. Well, I mean, it's all jurisdictional. In Pennsylvania, the sheriff's office pretty much only deals with prisoners. They don't make arrests. The district attorney's office has detectives. That's where I worked after I left the police department. And then the police department obviously has officers and detectives, and that's what I was when I was working on this case. And state troopers, they obviously have jurisdiction anywhere in the state. Where that comes tricky is in a case like this. Let's say she's killed in Williamsport, which she wasn't. She was killed in Belfont. But if she was killed in Williamsport, let's say, and then it's my case, but her body is found in state college and, state police territory, then they would assume jurisdiction. And usually you have to relinquish that to them or work together. So that's how that works. And it's very complicated. It's very messy. And sometimes it doesn't go over so well. And you're going to see my big problem that I had with the state police in a case in Friday's video that I release about this case. I talk about it. Vision Cliff got my book. Good. There's going to be no more Bill and Ted or Quentin Tarantino quotes tonight to send anybody any books. So we'll have to wait another week. Felicia, do the same people still live in the home where she was possibly moved to? Yes. Yes, same family. That was a rumor. There wasn't a lot to substantiate that. There was no evidence of that. The person that gave that information was a relative of theirs, a younger relative, and they had said that that's what they heard, but they had nothing to back that up. But to me, it doesn't matter. You go and knock on the door, and you ask to, at least they're going to tell you no, but you can at least ask because you never know. Hopefully, one day when that property is sold, that's the time to strike and go and ask. I regret not taking the sheriff's job to get my foot in. I scored in the top 5% of the CEO job, so I took the top 5 percentile to another orientation on the sheriff position. Yeah, that's what you got to do, man. You got to get your foot in the door and do it. And across state lines, you have FBI coming into the picture. Sometimes FBI usually don't get involved in homicides too much unless it's high profile or it's sex trafficking. At least that's been my experience. They don't, when I worked with the FBI, we didn't never really came into any investigation and that any of the local jurisdictions had unless we were asked to come in. Moon, would be amazing if every detective had the heart, tenacity, and confidence as you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much. What was the proximity between Joe and Greg in terms of where they were living at the time of Dawn's death? So Joe was at the Academy Apartments living. Greg's family lived less than 3.5 miles from where they killed Dawn. Maybe 5 miles. Vision, do you believe Dawn was moved somewhere relatively close to where she initially was buried? I would surmise that. I mean, it's wooded everywhere. There's a reservoir there that's it's private property. I searched that with cadaver dogs. I mean, I walked that whole area. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, really. Especially if the body's underground. So it complicates matter that Greg's house was basically backed up by a graveyard. And I always thought the best way for him or anybody, I guess, to get rid of a body is wait till there's a funeral. And then at night, when the hole's dug, you go and put your body in there and on top of the other body that's being buried. So I don't know. Edwards, I know that name. How are you? So, Ed, for you guys that don't know, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, but Edwards knew Don Miller. And I believe I may have talked to him at one point in time. I'm sorry if I don't remember correctly. Nyla, KC, has anyone ever approached you about making a movie from your screenplay? This story needs to be heard by a larger audience. Um, I think maybe they did. Not for no, they didn't for that book. They approached me about doing a documentary about my life, but not specifically that uh, about this. No, I take that back. There was one. There was one. Yes, they had me change the ending of the book. I remember now of the screenplay. So they did, but it never went anywhere, much like anything else. Is there water nearby, like lakes, ponds, etc.? There are. There's a reservoir there. There's a. It's pretty significant. I had a scuba diver in there. He came up. He says there's a refrigerator in here that has a chain wrapped around it. It's locked. Um, I felt good about it. Went down, we cut the lock, opened it up, nothing in there. And there was nothing else. It was crystal clear water in that reservoir. So we looked in there for sure. So Ed is saying he did. Yeah, he knew Dawn. I thought so. What's the difference between state time and county time? I've heard former convicts talk about state time. Well, state time basically is just that you are getting, usually you have to go to a state prison instead of a county prison. And usually it's a longer sentence. That's all that is. What was the reputation of the Belfont Academy apartments at this time? Everybody partied there, as far as I know. Maybe lower income type of apartment buildings. Everybody seemed to know everybody. A gross, thank you. Caprito, I wonder why they haven't used an informant, given he's so often in prison, even someone to befriend him. I so want. Yeah, I thought of that, and I did have one, and he was giving me information, so I did use that. Listen, once I stopped investigating this, um, again, the case went cold. Nobody picked it up. It's unfortunate, but that's just I've learned to deal with it. It's the way it is. Edwards, Dawn, he's talking about Dawn. She was like a sister. We had first met when we were young and lived in Michael Ross. So Michael Ross is an apartment complex in Williamsport for you guys that don't know. Ed, did I talk to you? Did I interview you? Because I certainly know your name from this investigation. Moon, I do feel like she was disposed of in the water, but after all the water inhabitants got rid of her, wouldn't their bones float? Uh, Not that I'm aware of, no. And she's not in the water, not there. That there's not enough there. I mean, it's not like a lake or a river. There's it's a body of water, two bodies of water, and I had scuba divers in both of them. She's not in there. Gina, you said that Don made some poor choices. This goes to victimology. What had made Joe? What had made you draw this conclusion? Well, the biggest flaw that she had was that she told Greg that she was pregnant, and I don't believe she was. I think she was just saying that because that was her first real boyfriend, and he was getting rid of her, and she didn't want that. So her mistake was to say, "I'm pregnant," and that made him snap, and that is eventually why she was murdered. Felicia, do you think more jurisdictions should ask for the FBI's help, especially if they do not have the resources? Well, the second part of your question is very true. Okay. When I was with the FBI, I had all the resources I could ever want. For drug cases, it was the best thing ever. You didn't need a search warrant for phone records. All you needed was a subpoena that you pretty much printed at your own desk and the boss signed. You got everything so much easier. When you interviewed suspects, it was much easier to get truth from them because they were going to get federal time, which is a much longer sentence. Do I think the FBI? I think the FBI is no more special than some police departments. It's all individuals. You know what I mean? I've seen some shitty FBI agents that were lazy and did nothing. I've seen some great cops that would run circles around that FBI agent and vice versa. So I don't think they should automatically be brought in. No. Capradillo, how old is the surviving accomplice now? I think he's my age, so he's probably 48, 47, something like that. Ugly son of a bitch, tell you that. Capradillo and I want to know how old Joe is now. Okay, I just answered that. What was Joe's employment at this time? I think he wasn't working. If he was, it was side jobs, maybe construction. He worked at a carnival for a little bit, things like that. Did he accompany his uncle on his truck routes? No, not to my knowledge. They kind of grew apart in a way after this. After this murder, they kind of grew apart. Now, I see that there's 107 people watching. One of those people, I am sure, is related to Greg and Joe. That's how their family is. Um, I had the niece that got stunned by Greg the night he killed himself write me a message and tell me to leave their family the fuck alone, to back off. Um, that I drove Greg to do this, and so on and so forth. And that's coming from the victim, of his assault. So you can only imagine how everybody else, they're a tight, you know, family like that, and it's the way it is. Gina, did Dawn tell Sandy about her relationship with Greg? Did Sandy ever meet him? I don't believe Sandy ever met him. No, and she knew that Dawn was seeing somebody up in Belfont, and she may have even knew the name, but that was it. I mean, again, Dawn was no kid. She was 23 years old, I believe. So she could do whatever she wanted. And you know what the sad part about this is, and people, I didn't tell anybody this, um, is if this wasn't sad enough, Dawn had a sister named Christy, and a few years ago, I want to say maybe 10 years by now, she was involved in a domestic disturbance, and her husband killed her, and then killed himself. So Sandy Northern, Dawn's mom, had two daughters that were murdered, not connected. Can you believe that? It's sad. All right, somebody's message is held for review. I have to hit show. And he tried to rape her. Wow, I wouldn't be defensive of that person. Yep, that is true. Jenna Colada. Howdy. Thank you. Welcome. Ed Warts. Do you still have Sandy's contact info? Yes, I do. Sandy comments sometimes on my pages on my Facebook. So, I mean, I'm sure if you want to contact her, you can probably look at my page. Amy, my singer, how are you? Yeah, I can't imagine that. Sandy's a tough woman, very tough woman. She she just went through cancer too. So talk about a rough life that this poor woman's had. Yes, it is awful. She is a strong woman, that's for sure. So, can you talk about Greg's routes? Did he have a steady ones? That I don't know. That part of the investigation kind of went to the state police, just because of, you know, I certainly looked, I talked to his employer, and obviously to get into his truck where I found those items. But, I tried to match up some cases of unsolved homicides along interstates and stuff like that, but there was really nothing there that I saw. Shame on Greg's sister for getting rid of the suicide note, though. I can imagine that's a tough position. Well, and that's if there was a suicide note. Again, I don't want to put out there false information. That's information that I heard. I don't know that for sure. That's just what I was told. So, what do you guys think of the week long process of the case? I tried to get it, to show you exactly what I went through in order to solve the case. Kelly Jansen, hi. Did Greg's sister ever reveal what was in the suicide note? Again, I don't know there was a suicide note. Where did Greg and Dawn meet? Do you know? Oh, Gina, why are you stumping me? They met at the Academy Apartments. She went up there with a friend who I did interview. Boy, I can't remember her name. But she went up there, and like I said, it was a party apartment, and that's where she met Greg at. If you said it, missed it, but how did you find out Greg committed suicide? I got a phone call from Bellefonte police detective. Called me and said he was standing in front of Greg. He had taken a ratchet strap and hung himself. Luckily that they even found him. It was a pretty remote area, but a hunter had seen him come in and then didn't see him come back out and went and checked, and that's how they found him, hanging. Soaps by Sammy, welcome. Felicia, I really like it. I like the way everything was broken down. Good. Oh, thank you. Mel likes the new format. Good. Vision Cliff likes it. Good. There's Unique Annie. She made it. Did Dawn not have her own car? No, she did not. She got to the Bellefonte apartment. I believe that her friend took her up there. She was staying up there a couple of days. It wasn't just one day. She was staying up there with Greg. She didn't want to come back home. She wanted to be with him, and they didn't want her up there. That was the ruse to get her back. All right, everybody likes the new case format. Good. Kelly Jansen just joined. I've been watching you for a couple of months and love your content and passion. Well, Kelly, I love you for joining. Thank you so much. All these people that are in here, I've known now for, it seems like 2 months maybe, doing these live chats, and they are the greatest people. They will make you feel welcome, as will I. So thank you. Nyla, do you suspect that Greg killed someone other than Dawn? No, I don't. I thought that maybe originally when I found the fake breasts and the wig and the dress and everything, but I think it was more of a peeping Tom type of issue, you know. But it bothers me that he was out in the woods sweating, and a lot of people will say that he was moving that body, but that was a couple years later. He could have been, but I always thought that he was masturbating over the gravesite. That bothers me because if he was doing that, then I believe he could be responsible for other murders for sure. But there's no evidence of that. He could have been just sweating profusely coming out of those woods because he was a little bit overweight and didn't exercise and he was nervous. So there's a lot of give and take there. Lisa, all right, I'm glad you enjoy it. Monsters, she loves it too. Good. Felicia's a hunter. She's the one that. Felicia, aren't you the one that gave me the information? And I don't think I gave you credit for this, but I certainly looked at it on the weights of bullets because you reload in regards to the Amityville DeFeo murders. I'm pretty sure it was you. So I'm acknowledging you now. That was good information. So thank you. I wonder if there was a tiny bit of chance she was really pregnant. Sure. Now I remember I said that to Greg in the interview I said, because I wanted to know, and I said, do you remember or do you know that she was pregnant? He immediately said, I know she wasn't pregnant. She borrowed a maxi pad from Bonnie that night. And I was like, wow, you remember that? But you can't remember, all these other things that I'm asking you. But he remembered that. What site did you first come across Dawn's case? I want to say it was the Doe Network. No. It might have been Charlie Project. I'm not sure. It's in my book. I'm sure if I took a look, it's in there. You said in a previous video that you were told her body was buried under a house. How reliable is that source? It's just like any other source, It's not coming from a priest or a teacher or a CEO of a major company. It's coming from, friends of a family member, a lot younger and many, many, many years later. So there could be some validity to it, for sure. I mean, but I don't know. Edwards, what people have to understand about Dawn is that when she loved someone, she dedicated herself to that person and would want to spend all of her time with them because she loved hard. Now, again, everybody, Edwards grew up around Dawn, so he knows Dawn. And that would go to what he's saying there about she didn't want to leave Greg. She wanted him. Felicia, yes, I did. All right, thank you. The breast and stuff bothers me. He was a truck driver, so it might be things he'd done in other locations. Sexual assaults, maybe. Possible. It's possible. But again, I think he's more of a peeping Tom type person. Could she be buried where they claimed they had the flat tire? Well, the flat tire was obviously a bullshit story. So they never stopped anywhere to change a flat tire. So no. And that would have been right off of a major interstate, and they wouldn't have happened. They never made it that far with her. Perfect. How are you? You did not miss too much, and you can always watch it in the replay as well. That's all right. You don't have to apologize. Don't you have like a handful of children that you have to take care of, if I remember reading something like that. So no need to apologize. Mel from Hell 2010. Is it possible Greg went back later date and burned her body? No, I don't think so. These aren't very sophisticated individuals. Okay. I think once they were underground, they're underground. And body is very difficult to burn if you don't realize that. Uh, the only thing that is really flammable if you don't use gasoline or an accelerant is their clothing. But if their clothing has already been underground for a number of weeks or whatever, it you're not gonna get it lit. So I don't think so, but anything's possible. Could they bring cadaver dogs to the home to check the cement areas? Are they lazy or what? They can do that, but again, nobody cares about this case. Nobody's doing anything about it. Once I retired, um, even before I retired, once the prosecution decided they weren't going to prosecute the case went cold. And maybe that's partly my fault, um, because I didn't dedicate more time to it. I moved to another cold case, this one here, Gail and Tamara. And I'd periodically check in on Dawn's case, but I had given the information to the state police. The home was in state police jurisdiction, and told the district attorney, and I believe in an email, maybe it was on the phone too, and they never went and checked it out. So yeah, is it lazy? I'm sure. 7 kids. Whew. Wow. I thought I read that. It stuck out to me. Nope, I didn't give up on Dawn, Annie. There's not my DNA. South Boston is famous for keeping quiet. Did you find people forthcoming about this case, or is it like South Boston? 50-50, I would say. I mean, some people gave up what they remembered, what they recalled. Mostly the people that didn't talk were the ones related to Greg. It's so sad how many cases could possibly be solved today if police would have just taken a report in the first place. I've heard so many cases where reports were refused before 24, 48, and 72 hours. You're 100% right. I mean, that is the part that bothered me the most, that no one would take Sandy's report. I mean, just getting bounced, and she's a timid woman, she doesn't get angry, she doesn't talk a lot. And for her to go to the newspaper was a big deal. It was a step for her, like her standing up to these, you want to say, bullies. One place says, hey, we're not going to take the report. She went missing in Bellefonte. Bellefonte says, hey, we're not going to take the report because she's from Williamsport. Back and forth. Really? Do your freaking job. Damn, Ed Wertz has 8 kids. Whew. I thought 7 was bad. Yeah, if Dawn was a famous person or a relative, an enforcement officer, this would have been handled so differently. Absolutely. No doubt. Moon gets stressed out over 3 cats. I hear you. So, what else about this case that, I mean, there were so many ups and downs that I can't even articulate it all. But it did set me on my path to, be a legitimate cold case detective. And all the things that have happened to me, I don't know if it would have happened without this case. Starting the American Investigative Society of Cold Cases, being able to learn, get to know Henry Lee and Cyril Weck and Warner Spitz and, Joe Kenda, all those people that I got to know and got to learn from. And then taking that, incorporated it into my style, my experiences, and then, being a cold case investigator. And it all stemmed from Dawn. Of course, I had that fire and that passion before that. It's what I've always wanted to do. But she just enhanced that. And it's like a gift that she gave me. And I really feel that. And it's crazy. It's crazy how life works, And here I am now, considered one of, the foremost cold case investigators or detectives or whatever you want to call it. Been on, the History Channel, the Reels Channel, Discovery Channel, Science Channel. Have this YouTube platform where, the subscribers are going up like crazy, and it's because of her, partly. It really is. So I'll never forget it. And I'm thankful. Sorry for that little rant. They threw away her backpack, but was there ever established whether she was carrying a purse that day? No, that was not established, but in that backpack, she had kept a journal, and people observed her writing in that journal. So that was something too. If that journal was ever found, you get a lot of information. Is this how serial offenders get away with things for so long before police realize they have killed, raped other victims? Well, serial offenders a lot of time get away with things because of luck. I think that's Zodiac was very lucky. You couple luck with a little bit of skill, and jurisdictional issues. You start killing across state lines back in especially the 70s and stuff when Ted Bundy was killing. It makes it a nightmare because police don't share the information. Therefore, you can't have case linkage, and you don't know what signature is from here to over here to here. Now it's a little bit more, it's better because of technology. But back then, it was tough. All right, where am I on this chat? Where is Mike Williams today? I keep wondering whether he has crossed Joe's path. Well, him and Joe got into a fight one time, years after this, because they were at a party together and he confronted Joe. Joe punched him in the face, got him down, got on top of him, and whispered in his ear, "Do you want to die like her?" Yep. Where he is today, every now and again, he'll send me some Facebook messages. He hasn't in probably a year or so, but he does. Talks about Dawn. BM Adina, I fell in love with you, with your channel, and Gina. Hey, all right. Well, Gina, you got a fan. Thank you, BM. I appreciate it. Dawn probably never imagined she would have so much No, I'm sure she wouldn't even have thought. I played football and was mentored by Gary Brown, and Dawn and Gary were good friends back in the day. Huh. I did not know that. That's good to know. See, you learn something new every day. For people that don't know, Gary Brown was a professional football player. I believe he played at Penn State before he went professional, and I want to say he played for Houston. That gift analogy was beautiful. I almost cried when I heard you say that. Well, don't cry. I'm done crying, so nobody else can either. Hawk, how are you doing? I'm glad you joined us. I understand it's a late day for you. Laura, for Dawn's mom to have the courage to color outside of the lines considering her personality and rejection is heroic. Yes, you're absolutely right. It was. Ken, I can really feel the emotion from you regarding this case and how special Dawn is to you. It's definitely noticeable, and I know it's difficult, but I'm glad to see she moved your life. She did. Yep. No doubt about it. I love Gina too. She and I are apparently attending the wrong parties. I saw that comment. I agree. You guys were attending the wrong parties as well. Houston and the Giants. Okay. Yep. Well, we're 40 minutes in. We got 5 more minutes of Dawn and then 15 minutes of whatever you guys want to talk about. Trying to think if there was anything else about that case that stuck out. I did get her DNA through her mom, so I had to get mitochondrial DNA. That is DNA that's passed down through the mother's line. And we entered that into the CODIS system in case a body ever it does show up in California or somewhere crazy. Uh, we would have her DNA on hand for that. This is such a small town. I mean, I don't understand why wasn't hell raised when Joe was implicated. Again, I don't have an answer. Even today, if you Google like State College unsolved homicides or something, you'll have like 10 cases and Dawn's won't be mentioned. It's absolutely crazy to me. It's like everybody has forgets about her. Everybody. And I don't know why that is. You hate to say it's because of money or socioeconomical status, but it's just facts. Have you shown us her picture? Her picture is in all the thumbnails. The last picture that you're going to see tomorrow is a picture on the thumbnail is of me with the canine unit and the dog. You'll see us out in the field searching. That is from the case file. Yes, everyone, check out the Instagram and Twitter account for Unsolved No More. Oh, the police report where the detective claimed he wrote one thing, but the report said something else. Why and how? Again, I just do not have the answers as to why this case fell through the cracks. And the sad part is there are many cases like this throughout the United States. It's just sad. And you need people to keep that alive. So they certainly put it, Greg would still be living right now had I not taken this case. Because nobody in our department knew we had a missing person. Nobody knew. And that is fact. So he would have no reason to kill himself. It's just the way it worked out. It's crazy. I don't know how you change it. The DeWalt, was the reservoir checked by divers? Yes, it was. Does the quarry hold water? Yes, and that was checked as well. What can we do? Well, Gina, we just keep keeping it public. That's all you can do. You know, that's what I tell everybody about cold cases is just keep them public. There's Rodney. How you doing, man? Maybe a cover up. I don't think there was a cover up at all. No. I mean, cover ups usually happen when there's money involved and influential people. This had none of it. Okay. None of it at all. Have you ever gone back up there in the area where Dawn was buried just to keep looking from time to time? Yep. Yep. I haven't been up there for, probably 4 years now. But even after the prosecution declined to prosecute, And then what really got me upset was they were convening a grand jury for unsolved cases in Center County. Center County is where Dawn was murdered. This district attorney, Staci Miller, I contacted her. I said, hey, you're doing a grand jury. There's some witnesses here. They need to be brought in. They need to be interviewed. And let's get this going. She wouldn't do it. She's like, well, what interview? Who's not being cooperative with you? Their family is not being cooperative. Bring them into the grand jury, compel them to testify. She didn't. She's not a district attorney no more. Her license were taken away from her. I think recently she just got back her license, so she'll be a defense attorney somewhere. But she was a joke, in my opinion. I wonder if Joe is watching these videos. Joe's pretty stupid. I don't know if he knows how to operate a computer, but if he is, hey, tell him like I told him before. I'm still here. We can still talk. Can't believe they did not go back and charge the other dude considering the disbarring. No one cares about this case. I'm telling you, it's unreal. Plus, listen, I will give the attorneys this bit. There's no body. Okay. It makes it very difficult. Not so much now. There's been a lot of no body cases done. In the past, that was very difficult. You have to. One of the questions that Staci Miller asked me was, how much blood was in the car? Because when Joe gave his confession, I asked Joe, when Greg was hitting her, how much blood was in the car? He said, not a lot. There was some on the door, and he went to the car wash and sprayed it off after we got done burying her. She said, well, if there was a large amount of blood that she could not sustain life, then I would be more apt to charge. But since we don't have that, I can't. I remember that. Monster got the key clue right. I'm supposed to remember to congratulate you on that. Good job. What are the chances of abuse of corpse again? I think it can still be charged. I really do. There's a new district attorney up there. His name's, I think, Bernie Cantor. I heard he's a good guy. I've had very limited dealings with him. He was hiring a detective to work on cold cases and run with the drug unit out of his office. They were hiring a detective. They never had detectives up there. And I always said that they should. But when he took office, he got the budget approval so he could hire a detective. And they were going to work on the Center County cold cases and do drug work. And I was like, oh, shit, that's perfect for me. There's a bunch of Center County cases that I'm interested in doing. Brenda Condon, Dana Bailey, Cindy Song, of course, Dawn Miller. All of these people were missing from this area up there. And so I had sent him my resume, and I'll give him credit. He got back to me and said that they were hiring somebody else, so he didn't hire me. And that was pretty much my dealings with that new DA. It's rare to get a case going on circumstantial evidence, but damn, he confessed to helping him dispose of her. They can't get him on that. That's what I said. Gross abuse of corpse. Yeah, there is still hope for this one. You're right, perfect. So I read up on Staci. She sounds like a real ass. All right. Well, since you brought it up, then I would ask. I mean, I don't know her personally, so I don't like to attack anybody unless I know them fairly well and I know how they are. I don't know her fairly well. I had a lot of communication with her, and I've seen how her career has gone. So, with that said, I would say you guys should go read up on her. Her name is Staci Parks Miller. If you want to know more about her, you can go and read about her. Her decision not to charge these people, again, it's my job to collect the evidence and solve the case. It's not my job to prosecute. So I don't really get, yes, I do get upset about it, but that's her job. That's her realm. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to be trying the case. I wouldn't want her to come and tell me how to investigate a case. Therefore, it was her decision. I don't like it. I think it was wrong. She has had some ethical issues. That's as far as I know. All those things that I just said are fact. I'm not going to sit here and bash her because I don't know her like that. Do you want all of us to send that DA emails? I mean, I don't want you guys to do anything. If you want to send, an email to the Center County District Attorney and tell them, that Joe needs to be arrested for gross abuse of the corpse, I'm sure I'm not going to stop you. Ray Grecar, he was the district attorney up there before Mike Madera. So I had talked, the last one, it was Bernie Cantor, Staci Parks Miller, Mike Madera, and then Ray Grecar. Well, Ray Grecar disappeared. He's been gone, 15 years now? So that's another case that I would love to look at. Will you retouch on the Gail and Tamara case in this format? I've lived around the corner. I didn't know her, but remember how it affected the whole community. Yeah, that's crazy. I went from the Don Miller case, which nobody knew about in that area, to Gail and Tamara's murder, which everybody knew about. So, yeah, at some point in time, I will probably do this format with that case as well. Let's see. If there is a confession, they can make a move on it. I think no one wants to deal with the case considering all the shameful stuff that turned up with the 2-page report, etc. Well, and remember, the district attorney at the time also stated that she had a problem with the confession, that it would get suppressed, that it wouldn't even make it to court, because he wasn't. I had asked a question before he was Mirandized and he was detained, which all are untrue. I didn't ask a question. I gave a statement. I said, you're going to take the dead rat for your uncle. I can't believe you're going to take the dead rat for your uncle. That's not a question. Then he spoke. He wasn't detained. He wasn't in handcuffs. We were transporting him to get DNA from him. After he gave his confession, we pulled off the road. The trooper started his recorder, gave his Miranda to him, and then he gave the confession again. I don't see how that's bad. But again, I'm not an attorney. I stay in my lane. I'm a detective. So maybe that's why no one else wants to prosecute it. He took his life because he couldn't live with all his dark weaknesses. What he did to her was only one of them. After you, he decided to do it for real. All right, bye, perfect. See ya. JJ, you're there. I see ya. He hit her with something like a tire iron. So later on, Joe, of course, through the years, he has gone through different relationships, and I went and talked to his exes through the years. And one of his exes told me that after he came home from the hospital that night, when I went to get the DNA from him, he told her, she said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Greg killed this girl a while ago, and I helped." She said, "What do you mean you helped?" And he kind of minimized his involvement to helping bury her, but he did say that they finished her off. He helped finish her off. I don't want to get those words. I'm paraphrasing those words, but it was something to that effect. Either they finished her off, he finished her off, or something like that. And it started in the car. They drug her from the car. And so I got a notarized statement from her for that. The ethical issues tell me enough about her personality, though. Yeah, I mean, yes, I agree. Right. His Gina, he was full of shit. He may have been drunk. I mean, that was his MO back then, but he actively participated in that murder. He had blood on his pants. He had scratches on his left arm. He had scratches on his neck. I have no doubt that is he actively participated. So, all right, we got what? We only got like 5 minutes left. You guys got any other non case specific questions? Semper Fi, Ed. I think they have killed before and after dawn. No, I think that I don't think so. I don't think so. She wasn't killed for a sexual motive or anything like that. This was specifically to get rid of her because they thought she was pregnant. That's all. Hey, Doc. Glad to see you. People have stood trial for less. Yes, that is true. Yet he admits to multiple people multiple times and can't be charged. he he can be. They just have to do it. Would you consider looking into the Summer Wells case? I did a little video on it earlier. I didn't delve into it too much, but I did do a video on it just from the outside looking in, what I saw. All right. No more questions for me? I still haven't decided what I'm doing next week. I don't have a case yet. I'm going back and forth whether I should do a brand new case or revisit some of these older ones in this new format. And that's the dilemma that I'm running into right now. So, thanks, Doc. I appreciate your comment. I was commended. I got some awards for it. So, again, all those awards and stuff, they don't matter. They really don't. Uh, it's nice, but Dawn's mom giving me a hug and thanking me, that's all the reward that I ever needed. So, because no one would listen to her. Still, no one cares. You know, the district attorney there now. I mean, he could easily say, yeah, well, there's enough there. I know he's looked at the case. I sent the case to, I believe, the attorney general's office at one point in time and asked them to look in, and they refused as well. Because they don't have jurisdiction over it. They'd have to get approval from the Center County DA, but it's crazy. All right, where am I at? I started reading my books that you wrote. All right, good job. I'm glad you got the books. West Memphis, yes, I definitely am going to get into that one again. Mel says revisit some of the older ones with the new format. Okay. That's a couple people wanting that. Lindy Sue Beischler. No, I'm not familiar with that. West Memphis. Do pieces of case information cross your mind out of nowhere and suddenly clarify the bigger picture for you? Yes, what are those moments like for you? Yes, they do. I told the story about watching a dish soap commercial, and it flashed me back to a murder case that I'd worked on for 10 years, but I never noticed that there was no dish soap in the house. So, yep, happens. Smiley Face Murders, I've heard of them. Yep, I got to get in on that. Missy Beavers, people requested that one too. So, yeah. Inquiring minds want to know, are you married, Ken? Well, if you're a detective, I'm not going to answer. You can figure it out. What is your favorite car? I just got an 81 Chevy Square Body, and I love her. They're Betty. I don't know. I had a Hummer truck 2 years ago, and I really liked that, and I regret getting rid of that. But I'm partial to older muscle cars. I used to have a 79 Trans Am when I was a teenager that I lived in for a little bit. Right now, what am I driving? Right now, I have just a pickup truck. Again, I'm a country boy. Everybody says Missy Beavers, huh? Well, I'm going to have to get into that one. I like Jeeps too. Yeah. All right, I'm over an hour. So, hey, again, thank you guys for attending this chat. Also, sticking with me all week on that case. It means a lot to me. And we're going to keep doing the format. And we're keep going. You know, I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. I really am. So, tomorrow, actually, when I get off of here tonight, for you guys, the members, since we just talked about it, I'm going to post the Q&A session video that I did earlier today to answer some videos. And that way you have it. And then I'll release it, obviously, to everybody else tomorrow. And then we'll get back into it Monday with something. I don't know which one yet. Might not hit me until Sunday night when I'm laying in bed thinking about it. But keep everybody subscribing. Keep building this channel up. And I'll stay with you guys as long as you stay with me. All right. So till next time, Main's out.